Hello and welcome to the Tavern Chat Podcast. I am your host, Eric Tenkar, and this is another of our Designers and Makers series of Fireside Chats. With me today is Glynn Seal, best known as Monkeyblood, one of the premier mappers, creator of settings that I think we have in the OSR. And I'm not just trying to blow smoke up your ass, Glynn. I own all your shit, so. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. If I do a little fanboy today, you just know why.
I'm not sure I necessarily deserve fanboydom, but thank you.
You'd certainly deserve fanboydom. Well, yeah, fandom too. You enjoy having your own setting of fans, but
Yeah.
you do some. I'm gonna get out of the way. You do some amazing shit that really is setting a new bar, I think, for OSR settings or settings even beyond, because really your stuff is, although written for Swords and Wizardry, is almost system neutral, so there's no reason why you can't use it with 5e and Pathfinder.
Yeah, I think if you can read an OSR stat block, you can pretty much use it for anything.
Excellent. Well, as usual, we're going to put you through the infamous 5 questions, and then we will proceed with the sandbox and see where we go.
Okay.
All right. So, Glynn, tell us about your first RPG experience. What got you into the hobby?
So, a friend of mine, Jamie, when we were, I guess, 14, something like that, he had a circle of friends that one of them had an older brother, and that older brother got that little group into gaming, into D&D, and Jamie went and played a game with them. He was sort of blown away by it, saw me probably the following day and said, "Oh my God, you've got to have a go at this." So probably the following day, I think he borrowed the books and we got stuck into it. So my first encounter with it really was Red Box, and the adventure would have been the group adventure in the DM's book with Bargle and the carrion crawler at the under the gate, which I mean, knowing us back then, I would have been probably the only character, because we just played. He DM'd and I played, and that was kind of it for a while. Before I got my my friendship group into it as well, and then everything opened up. So yeah, I can imagine that carrion crawler put me through some paces. I would imagine being the very first creature that I encountered with 8 attacks and paralysis was. I'm surprised they even put that in there as your first adversary. What happened to putting kobolds first?
Yeah, my first encounter was skeletons. I think my friend. I'm assuming he wrote the adventure himself, but he only had the DM's guide. So after my first session, we had to call a friend who had a player's handbook to find out if I leveled or not. And of course, you leveled, because when you're in your, junior high school, you're giving away experience. Yeah, you're giving away match guidance and experience points like they're going out of style.
Yeah, I mean, probably straight after that, he'd got In Search of the Unknown B1, and we played that. And I just remember the pool room. I'm like, I'm just going to try a sip of everything, which not the wisest move. But
probably not. But you got to do it anyway, right? Because no risk, no gain.
You don't know till you try.
Yeah, and and that's something that people forget too. B1, B2, these weren't just one and done adventure modules. There was a lot of potential in those too. They were reusable. They weren't just a single setting, a single session.
Yeah, and I think back in those days, when you were young, it was a place that you ended up owning after you'd cleared it out as well. So you got the maps, and it was then yours, and you could kind of write about what traps you were going to put in places, and to stop other people coming along and taking it over. So I remember owning a multitude of properties throughout the realms.
Well, yeah, my players took over the Wild Coast in Greyhawk when they reached name level. I had to make up a match combat system for that one.
Oh, right, okay. The battle system.
Oh, I wasn't using battle.
Yeah.
Oh God, no! My group was not going to have a lot of fun moving around square counters on a table to play it out.
Well, talking about like giving out magic items and stuff willy-nilly, I had two notable characters. I played two at the same time, Elkrand the Elusive and Kildrellen. So Elkrand the Elusive was a fighter, magic user, something. And I'm talking, we kind of switched into Advanced Dungeons and Dragons at that point, first edition. And he was like my main character, my campaign guy,
Right.
We bought the first edition Lankmar setting book with the map of the city.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah, and we played in Nair 1, specifically Lankmar, using that map for sessions and sessions. And my characters got high enough level that we wanted to take over the city and get an army and own it and throw the Overlord out. So my friend ran this session where we fought to take control of the city using totally made-up rules, I would imagine, at the time. I don't think he'd got battle system, but we were kind of dabbling with a little bit of Warhammer Fantasy in its very early stages then. So we probably just cobbled some rules from whatever was going and used that. But yeah, very memorable. And also that was probably like one of the things that really got me interested in city settings and that and things like Waterdeep. I love that kind of stuff.
Waterdeep, Thieves World, Pavis, and Big Rubble as box sets for the early RuneQuest. I mean, city settings run a lot differently than Wilderness, where you got your plot points where people are going to dungeons or whatever. There's a lot more.
There's a lot of character interaction and
character interaction and politics and hooks and so much that can be going on that it's just so much potential. But I think that we're going to be hitting that more later on in the.
Yeah.
Because we got something to talk about later, I think.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Something else that always sticks in my mind about my very early days of gaming was it was a module called the Gem and the Staff, and it was a one-on-one thief module, level 8 thief module. And because my main character, Elkrand the Elusive, was a thief, that made sense to play it. But it came with a separate map book, which you could place the figures on. So the rooms were all drawn out, and that I love that. I remember the first adventure. It's 2 adventures, I think, and you have to go and get these artifacts. But the first adventure is you see a man walking across a drawbridge, but just before he walks, he holds up this amulet as he walks across, and then puts it back in his pocket when he gets to the other side, gets on his cart. And the amulet is something that stops a hydra that's in the moat from coming up and attacking people. So, yeah, it's all these ridiculously overpowered monsters at the starts of adventures to make you think twice about what you're getting yourself into.
Well, that definitely rings true in the OSR, that's for sure. All right. Well, hey, let's move on to our next question. What's your go-to RPG these days?
Currently, Swords and Wizardry Complete. We have started very recently playing Coriolis by Modiphius,
Oh, okay.
which is Arabian Nights in space. It's a D6 pool system kind of game, but the setting is what made it stand out for me. It's got this glorious Middle Eastern sci-fi vibe, hookah pipes and Mos Eisley-esque vistas.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I DM'd. We had a day where all of our friends got together and we were pottering about. And I said, I'll run a one-shot adventure for you, but I'm not going to tell you what the system is. And so I had Coriolis, and I thought, right, I'll do this just to surprise them. It's a little bit different, and we'll see how it goes. So I ran a session for them, and they were like, okay, wow, that's fantastic. And another friend of mine, he DMs that now. So in between my Midlands campaign, I've got a friend who runs his own Midlands campaign, which I'm a player in, which is interesting. And then we've got a Coriolis campaign. So there's 3 things going on at the moment when we get time to find at the weekends and play.
That's very cool. I mentioned recently too. I mean, for me, I hadn't gotten a chance to play as a player in over a year and a half, and all of a sudden I'm in 2 campaigns thanks to Tim Shorts and Gene Spahn, and it's a lot of fun to be able to. I'm traditionally the DM, so it's a lot of fun to be able to be on the other side of the screen.
Yeah, I think there's certainly a lot more pressure on you as a DM in terms of time. I mean, sometimes I feel a bit of pressure before a game because I want people to enjoy it, and what I don't necessarily want them to do is go off at tangents if I can help it, because I've prepped to a point and I'm comfortable with the prep, but as soon as they go off, then I'm like, okay, now I'm totally winging the next 3 hours, which basically happened in my last Midlands session. The first NPC they went up to totally fucked it up, and I'm like, okay, right, now I need to put my poker face on like I was expecting this, and now totally make everything up on the fly. So yeah, there's that level of let's hope this goes okay.
Well, my last games that I've been GMing have been at cons, and I get a little bit of GM anxiety ahead of the games, but it's like I want these guys to have fun, guys and gals, and they never follow what you would expect. So I actually enjoy the improv that I have to throw out there, because it usually plays better than anything that was planned in the adventure that was going to be run.
Yeah. So I think for me the only risks when that happens to me is slowing the game down, because I haven't got information prepared. I've got to look up some stats or something like, rather than I mean, most of the time if it's low levelish stuff, I don't worry too much. I can wing it. You don't need hit points. You can even just say, okay, you've hit him, but he's still there. Okay, you've hit him again. He's still there. Okay, okay, you've hit him down. So you don't necessarily have to be rigid, and I think you just judge it where it's about right. But when it gets higher level, especially in things like Pathfinder,
oh geez,
I couldn't even contemplate winging.
No, I can't even contemplate running Pathfinder. The amount of rules that are involved in that. So
yeah, my group used to be really big into. I mean, my kind of evolution was D&D Red Box, 1st edition, 2nd edition, 3rd edition, 4th edition. Then it's kind of like, not bothered about this. I've got 5th edition, never played it, but after 4th edition, we switched to Pathfinder. So I've had a lot of experience of 3.5 and Pathfinder, but I think when I discovered the OSR, I then realised that I didn't have to keep following the evolution of the D&D game anymore, and I kind of hadn't necessarily realised that.
That's a pretty interesting take on it. Yeah, you got a point there. For me, I played straight up until 2E skills and powers, which I consider to be like 2.5. And then because of change in my employment, which gave me Wednesday, Thursday as my weekends, and working 5:30 at night to 2 o'clock in the morning meant that there was really no gaming on the weekends. I 3.5, even 4E were game systems that I owned and read mostly for the support material, whatever, the Forgotten Realm stuff that was interesting, some of the major source books. But I never actually got a chance to play until I found virtual tabletops and came back to gaming, mostly through, at the time, Fantasy Grounds. And my game back was Dark Heresy. And then I was playing Castles and Crusades.
Yeah, because Dark Heresy, has that got a second edition or something now? Because I think I had the first edition. It's sort of Warhammer Inquisitor 40k stuff.
And I had run, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay back when it came out. Loved it. So as a player coming back and having, Dark Heresy be my return, it was a system that I didn't have to relearn very much. I still understood the system. I understood the core of it. And then Castles and Crusades was my eye-opening return to the OSR, basically, or finding the OSR.
Yeah, so. I think because Google Plus really was how I found the OSR again, and I was posting on there. It was figures. I used to paint a lot of miniatures, and I would post pictures on there. And I set up a Google Plus account, and I'm like, oh, this looks like an interesting place. I'll see what happens. And then, as I started to discover more people into gaming and role playing, I started to shift my posts more towards gaming and maps, and that's pretty much then where Monkeyblood design really started. And yeah, when you're creating something and showing people pictures, and then they're interested and they want to know if you can do something for them, then I mean that's a huge it's a huge thing, and it just opened up from there. And then I started to get involved in all the OSR groups, and thought, you know what, my group can get back to this and enjoy gaming again, because it kind of died off when 4E came out.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, and 4E had issues beyond just the system. It had issues with the attempt at the VTT that was going to be monetized, with the idea of micro transactions, and then that whole homicide fiasco that did it in. Yeah, the story behind that is a bizarre one. But
yeah, I'm not sure what that was about. Is it?
Oh yeah, what happened? Yeah, the main programmer, I believe, killed their spouse.
Oh, blimey.
Yeah, and it was already when they were having problems getting the VTT to be really workable, because the game plan, I believe, on the Wizards of the Coast side was that 4E was going to make its money through the microtransactions, because you'd be buying the miniatures, the virtual minis, and that was where I think we're going to expect to make a significant portion of their income from 4E. And when that didn't happen, they've never come back and said, hey, we're going to do a VTT. Oh, and one of the other fiascos with that is that the VTT had showed on like a video demo. It had like a 3D dice roller, but the 3D dice rolling that it showed was actually ripped right from Fantasy Grounds. Yeah, it was.
Nice.
Yeah, I really have to do some digging and do an episode on that, because that would be a really interesting shit show, I guess you could say.
Mm.
But
Yeah, I mean, there was some good stuff in 4E. I don't want to bash it too much. It's part of the process, I guess, in evolving the game. But yeah, I mean, we played quite a few sessions of it, but I think the thing why my players fell out of love with it was just the very chess-like encounters. It just seemed like you were moving and then moving back. Yeah, so we kind of just, we needed to get back to theatre of the mind, and the OSR
right,
did that in spades.
yeah, I'm huge on Theater of the Mind.
Mm.
Even when I roll on Roll20, I'll use Fog of War, but I don't use tokens. I'm very lightweight on my VTT use when I use them. And a couple years ago, Roll20 wanted to have me DM a session and have it recorded, so they could put it up. And I was like, listen, you need to understand that except for Fog of War and the dice roller, there's probably very little that I use. I wasn't even using. I mean, now I use handouts and stuff, but I wasn't even using handouts. So you're going to be really disappointed in the final the final video.
Yeah, I watch Matt Finch's Swords of Jordoba, and
That's awesome.
When I get a chance, yeah, and that's very theatre of the mind. I know you've got the kind of miniature cam as well, so you kind of see a bit about what's going on, but you can get most. I tend to watch it less than I listen to it, so I can kind of figure out most of what's going on just by Matt's narration.
Matt's an amazing GM. My first North Texas region, I played in his Swords and Wizardry game, Mrs. Tower, and he can run with 24 people at the table. He was running, and he stands on the table, so you can focus on him. And it's a sight to see that. And I mean, I feel that I'm like, wow, like I thought I was impressed with that. Like my max is about a dozen players that can go as high as a dozen and keep it all juggled and moving, at least face to face, not online. But I've seen Matt roll with like 24, 25 players. I was like, oh.
I don't even know where you'd start with that. I struggle with 5, and that's my max.
Yeah.
My blood pressure can only handle 5, I think. Especially when they're going off piste, and then oh shit, no. What I'm hang on. I'll just need some more blood pressure tablets. I'll come back in a second.
See, like when I run at conventions, it's usually it's a table of 8, but I don't turn. If somebody's walking up or they mention to me like, "Hey, is there any openings at your table?" It's like, well, as long as you can find a seat, you have to steal one. Sure. So I've run with as many as a dozen, but I think that a dozen is about as far as I can go. And when I'm DMing like face to face,
what system is that?
Oh, well, Swords and Wizardry Light usually at the convention. So I don't even need to like hold the rules in my hand, and improv is just putting down hit points on a page.
Yeah.
But I can keep it going. Now, if I was running Swords and Wizardry complete and high level characters, probably 8 to 10. But like I said, I don't sit when I GM face to face.
So
I need to be able to move around and focus on people.
I'm trying to imagine a combat with 20 people in it.
And one of Matt's secrets is, it's group initiative, and then when the group is rolling, it's by decks, high decks to low decks, and he seats people in decks order.
Okay.
so you don't have yourself wandering around. Like you're not going from position 1 to position 15 back to position 4 in seating order. You're
Yeah.
going from 1, 2, 3 all the way down. So
Does he get them to sit around the table in dexterity order? Because that would
yes,
make it even. Oh,
no,
right. Okay.
that's
Yeah,
what he
yeah.
does. Sit
Oh,
around
okay.
in
Yeah,
order.
that's great.
So and you generally have at least one caller. I think when we had 24, we kind of broke down to like one caller for each side of the tables. Like they have like 5 tables in a U. So because you always know in a Matt Finch game they'll be running with a lot of people.
I'd love to see it.
Oh, it's him and Bill Webb. They can both run with very large groups. It's interesting to watch.
I've seen
All right.
pictures at cons where they're on the
Oh
table.
yeah, and I've seen Bill run with at least 2 dozen, if not more. So
Wow.
and Bill is fine with killing off PCs. Just expect that. Maybe not a TPK, but you can.
Well, I guess if 24 is too many and you're thinking,
Yeah,
this is too many, right? Okay, you 10.
You 10, take 10, roll out new characters, and the rest of us are moving on.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, listen, you started with Redbox, so
Yes.
I'm going to ask you where you stand on racist class.
Okay. Now, I think I get confused with this because racist class. Now, is the racist class or race class, which I think is probably different?
Well, racist, because in Redbox, you could be a fighter, you could be a cleric, right? You could be a magic user, or you could be a dwarf, you could be an elf. So like so basically all dwarves were fighters. There was no other option. All elves were fighter magic users. There was no other option. All halflings were pretty shitty fighters that were limited to a very low level.
Yeah, I was thinking of like with well, I'm guessing OD&D is basically the same, where you've got fighting men and you've got, wizards and you've got elves. I mean, that to me doesn't make a massive amount of sense. But if you've got a class, if you've got a race such as an elf who is, say, a ranger.
Hey, folks, we had a little technical difficulty. Our bot crashed. So we, or quasi crashed. It couldn't hear us for a few minutes, so we were talking. It was a great talk. We will re-talk it again.
I'll try and remember what I was waffling.
I'm sure it'll come out fine, but we just wanted to let you all know why it's going to be like, why did they cut off in mid-word and suddenly come back? Technology sucks sometimes. So we're going to start with the question of save or die.
Yeah,
save or die, and as you were, was it save versus hit points is what you were saying?
Yeah. So I mean, save, just to kind of say what I was talking about previously. I find save or die in campaign play to be a bit cruel, and I prefer an option which is save or 0 hit points. So you make your saving throw, you fail, rather than die, you're on 0 hit points and you're bleeding out down to minus your constitution.
So
and then
basically, you're on death's door.
Yeah. So if you're in a party, it at least gives the party a chance to do something about it and intervene, because it's about party play rather than what I tend to find is if somebody dies in mid-play, you've all got to uproot and then go back to the town and then get rid of all your gold and raise them, and then they've aged 10 years or whatever, and it just it kind of cuts that immersion, when you're kind of in the thick of it, and at least it kind of helps with tension, because as soon as somebody's down, you're one man down, you need to get them back up again. And I just think that works better in campaign play. I think for one shots, leave it till the end boss. If your players aren't necessarily invested in your characters and they don't want to use them again, then save or die is fine as it is. But I find in campaign play it can be a little bit of a harsh mistress.
Yeah, and especially save or die traps. I don't like the randomly placed in the hallway, the poison trap that's going to kill the PC. Advertise it, when they're at the big MacGuffin, when they got that huge chest with the flea engraving on it that they know it has something good in it, they should understand that there's probably going to be a large risk involved and taking acceptable precautions. But to just have it as a random event, I think is beyond harsh.
Yeah. I think in campaign play, if there is enough warning that it is surrounded by deadly traps, absolutely deadly traps, then you could argue it's the player's own fault. But I mean, I've had a complete campaign stop because of a failed poison save, and that was City of the Spider Queen, which is a Forgotten Realms module. There's a huge chasm filled with webs, and there's this massive spider in it, and they're trying to get across the chasm. And one player was an Azamar, maybe something like that. Well, one of these fancy winged angel type races, and he'd got a ring of free action, so he wouldn't get caught in the webs as he was flying about. But the spider bit him and he failed his saving throw, which was save or die. And then he just plummeted and the webs wouldn't stop him because he's got this ring on. and that chasm was also bottomless. So it said basically anybody falling down the cavern, that you won't find them.
So that's beyond save or die. That's it was irrecoverable death.
Yeah, so that was actually it was a combination of things. I mean, what really didn't help was the ring of free action, because otherwise the webs would have stopped him. But the characters were quite high level for that module. I think it was like 11th something, and they played them from low level. So for him to die at that point, and there really not be a massive amount that I guess I could have done something about it, but it would have been very staged. That set that player back a little bit, I think, and then they started to lose a bit of interest, and him specifically, because he really liked that character. And I think that's the thing. If you're doing campaign play and you're invested in or your players are invested in the characters, then you need to be very careful with things like that, because you can ruin the experience for everybody, and you can actually stop your game.
Yeah, I tend to prefer things that do damage, even if it's a potentially a large amount of damage, over just pure save or die. So at least there's a chance built into the randomness that even if you fail that save, you still might survive. Whereas it's all on just one roll. I think that.
Yeah, I mean, if you've taken damage, you can at least be healed hit points back. Whereas if it's die, I mean, that's
it's
dead.
like, well, I guess you went right down to the AD&D -10 and beyond, right?
Yeah, we use -con, so that it gives people who are a little bit hardier a little bit of extra time. So your wizards and stuff, they don't necessarily get down to -8 or something.
I actually use minus level plus con bonus.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So as they get higher in level, their ability to be gritty and hang on longer increases.
Yeah, in an heroic fashion, as befitting their level.
All right. Well, yeah. Let's jump on to the last of our
Hmm.
preordained questions. Uh, you got into gaming with Redbox in your
Yeah.
your teenage years, I guess.
About 85, I think it was. Yeah.
Okay. What would that teenage you, the one that came out and found gaming through the Redbox, think if they could see what you would be doing now in the hobby, what you would have accomplished so far?
Yeah, I think it is a difficult question to answer, but yeah, I think I'd have been really happy to be involved in doing something that I really enjoyed as as a career, and it's actually been my career since October 2017. So I've been doing this for about a year and a half now, full time. So to have that opportunity, I think I would be pretty happy with that. As indeed I am now pretty happy with that.
Oh,
So yeah, it's it's hard work. I don't tend to stop often. But when it's doing something that you really enjoy, it doesn't always feel like I'm working. Whereas, you know, I was in the security industry for 29 years prior to that, and that was very stressful. And every day felt like a huge effort, and I was kind of glad in a way to turn my back on that. I miss all the people that I work with, and I had a lot of fun. But I'm doing something that I'm passionate about and I love now. So the young me would be pretty happy with that, I would think.
I would expect so, and I can understand completely the idea that you miss your coworkers, you miss the friends that you make,
Mm.
and the conversations that would go on, and some of the craziness. But
Yeah,
you don't miss the job itself, and I can say
yeah,
the same. I well I there's a saying that law enforcement gives you the tickets to the greatest show on earth because you see the people at their best and their worst. But
mm.
I'm very happy to see that from a distance now. I
Yeah,
I, I miss the people. I made some great contacts. I had some great conversations, but I have no regrets that I'm no
mm.
longer knee deep in that shit.
Yeah, and exactly that. I still keep in touch with the guys, and I do little bits of work, subcontract for them here and there. But yeah, it became very stressful. It was quite high pressured, and yeah, I don't. I'm a lot of the people I work with, they kind of knew I started doing Monkeyblood design probably it was like 5 years or something now, and they kind of knew that when I left work, I was going and doing all these things, and sometimes I'd bring stuff in the morning that I'd drawn and say, "Oh, what do you think of that?" And they'd be like, "Oh man," they're really enthusiastic about it and really supportive of it. When I decided to sort of step away from it and get into doing it full time. And yeah, like I say, it's hard work, and it only works because I split my time between commissions and my own projects and my own publications.
What was the door open for? What got you to the? You're saying what was the one thing that got you to this point that allowed you to step away and say I can do this? Was it the Midderlands?
Yeah, I ran the Midderlands while I was still doing the day job full time. So yeah, I don't know whether I'd recommend necessarily doing that again. My first two Kickstarters, so the Midlands and the Midlands Expanded, were nail biting roller coaster rides, and that running a Kickstarter campaign, anybody who's ever done it, if you're a small publisher, so you're the ultimate person with the responsibility. It's quite a lot of build up, quite a lot of pressure to try and see if you can get it to fund, because you would have already had an outlay and investment into it. And I think the Kickstarter was the point where I realised that actually with residual book sales afterwards, combined with the options of running more Kickstarters and combined with the commission work that I'm doing, and that the momentum that was starting to build up, I thought that I think I can probably pay the bills with this, and I've done so every month since. So, but it required quite a significant kind of strategy almost to try and get it to there. You can't. I think anybody that just thinks, I like writing adventures and I want to do that full time. Right, I'm just going to jack the job in and see how it goes. Yeah, don't do that, because that would be foolish. You need to be putting the effort in and making half of what you need at least before you think about that. Making half of that on the side.
Oh, definitely. I couldn't be as invested in doing what I'm doing as all things related to the tavern, wasn't for the fact that I have a pension that supports me behind this. It certainly isn't profitable to the point I can make a car payment monthly, let alone support myself and my wife. But I am grateful I have the opportunity to put the time into it that I have because of a pension. And I whenever I see somebody who can take that step and turn their passion into their occupation, their job, I'm thrilled.
Yeah, there were a number of drivers as well that were forcing me to take those decisions and motivate me, more importantly, to make this work. And you have to have a huge set of motivations to do it and continue to do it and drive you forward, because trying to find out how you're going to pay all of your bills and your mortgage this month is a pressure of its own, as well as having to create all the content and manage your social media and all that kind of thing. It's a huge amount of time. I mean, I consider that I'm not necessarily spending a massive amount of time managing social media and engaging as much as I probably should. But if I did that, I wouldn't have the time to create. And there's a balance between spending your time engaging the audience and creating the stuff that's going to get their juices flowing and get them gaming. So it's a bit of a fine line. Plus, I'm kind of you're doing all your own admin and paperwork, and so there's and then commission work as well. And it's full on. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I consider myself privileged to be in the position that I'm in.
Well, not only that too, but your occupation now is 7 days a week without a set schedule.
Correct. Yeah.
It requires you. If you take downtime, if you take a total day off, that's a total day off where it isn't getting done on your projects. I can understand that. I've blogged daily for over 5 years without missing a post, and before that, my stretch I think was 2.5 years before that. So I've missed one day of posting in like 8 years.
And if I think about that, and I think, right, in order to engage, Monkeyblood fans and people that haven't found me yet, if I did a blog post a day, that trying to come up with things to write and do a bit of research and some nice pictures to chuck in there and stuff. That's half of my day gone every day.
Yeah,
I couldn't do it. Yeah. So I can understand why people end up having social media people because if I had more commissions and was selling more books, I'd certainly be considering it. And Kickstarter campaigns as well, they could run those because they take a significant amount of effort for a month to kind of keep things going and creating content for updates, and as well as working on the project as well, to make sure that when it does fund, it's not far away.
And it's funny because I've had 2 offers over the last 2 years by people in our corner of the universe to either run their social media or manage their Kickstarters. And in either case, it was like the time I would have to spend on somebody else's work as opposed to keeping my own, community going.
Yeah.
Wasn't the investment's huge. What you got to put into a Kickstarter is huge if you're going to do it well. If you're going to, do it like a lazy ass, you can just look at Ken Whitman and just put up a few, pictures, put up some fine words, make some promises, and walk away. But if you're going to do it right, it is basically a full-time job in and of itself.
Yeah. I mean, when I know that I'm doing a campaign, well, certainly now, the first one I was a little bit green, and I was working full-time. So I felt a lot of pressure from that first campaign, especially because it started off really well and sort of trundled along in the mid campaign, and I was thinking, there's no way this will fund. And I look at the kind of graph now because I'm a bit of a data I was going to say guru is totally the wrong word, a data junkie. And I like to compare data between things just to see how things perform. So I've got kind of KS1, KS2, and KS3 stats, and I can see, And I remember looking at the graph, thinking, "There's no way that's going to ramp up that much to fund," and it did, and I was absolutely amazed that it got as much support as it did, and coming back to what we were talking about earlier, that was a point where I thought, you know what, people must like this, and this technically could be something that starts to look like a full-time thing. And and from there the second campaign pretty much did the same sort of thing. It kind of really ramped up at the end, and but this campaign that I'm running at the moment, that's different. That's funded in advance of the previous 2, and its first day and a half of funding was like over double what the other 2 were. So it's you kind of I've learned some things about how to build the campaigns and market them a little bit better. So I think that helps. And the NE, that helped as well.
Well, the NE doesn't hurt at all, but you've done it successfully already. You put out, and the quality is amazing. These are books that are constantly on the shelf by my desk, just so I can ooh and ah over them. But you're also offering something that is rarely offered. You're offering a city setting now on your latest Kickstarter, right? From somebody who shows that they understand not only how to produce a setting material, but puts out extremely high quality setting material, well written, amazing art, maps are top notch. So the expectations are already high because of your track record. So you
There's
have
no pressure.
No pressure at all. But and any pressure that you have is because of the work that you've done prior has shown people what their expectations should be. you do some amazing work. I'm not, again, like I said earlier, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, but it's some of the best maps I've ever seen are your maps.
Oh, thank you.
And the Midderlands was a pleasure to read. I mean, I have an issue where, for the most part, when it comes to RPG books, I don't read them, front to back. I kind of flip through them. My attention span for anything that is longer than, I don't know, 40 pages is just horrible these days. But I read through front to back because it was so approachable, so engaging.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people have said that, forgetting that it's a setting for a game, it's actually a thoroughly entertaining read.
Yes.
And kind of, I mean, I'm not actually a big reader. I've read some novels and things, but sometimes I find them a little bit hard going because they're kind of not necessarily entertaining enough. They don't engage me enough, and
right.
I kind of write how I want to read. I think is the way that it's done. By putting little sort of humorous things in, just to kind of keep that interest and maybe raise a smile or a giggle.
Well, you do extremely well with it, and I think that's why you're seeing such success with your Kickstarter. But now, what made you think about doing a city setting, let alone a city based on old London, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, for me, a complete setting ensemble is kind of a small area that's quite well detailed, a larger area that can kind of go and explore and get a wider range. The Midlands Expanded was created so that it could have some coastline and introduce, sea creatures and threats from other countries and things. But also a detailed city setting, and then, a mega dungeon. And if you've got all of those in one setting, that's you've got everything that you need for years and years of gaming.
Oh, so, God, yeah.
I'm not suggesting as yet that there's a mega dungeon in the offing. It's something that I did start to get involved in, but it kind of gave way to the city setting. So it may be a future project, but yeah, I love city settings as well. I think my encounters with Lankmar and Waterdeep in my gaming youth have filtered through to the point where I knew what was going to be involved from a mapping perspective, and I knew it was going to be considerable. So that kind of held me off for a little while. But then in the end, I caved in and thought, right, now I'm going to do it. So yeah, all the maps for the city are done practically. So yeah, it's happening. I would say I'm probably 15,000 words off finishing the text, which probably within a couple of weeks I'll have got that done. So yeah, I'm on target and everything. So it's good. But yeah, I love city settings.
Just first off, Pex is writing in the text channel that you lie about the no mega dungeon. I'm just gonna say, I suspect it's something that you have penciled in, but it's not done in ink yet. But I'd love to see it from you, man.
You know what? I've got about 300 different projects rattling around in my head. So one thing is from the Midlands Expanded, there's an area which is kind of like Scandinavia, but it's called the Serpent Lands, and I really want to do like a serpent-based setting for that area. I've got Trollfang, which is some kind of one-off setting, but I've put hints in all of the Midlands books to it. So that's that's had a considerable amount of work already done to it. So that could be the next thing that surfaces. But also, I wanted to do some kind of post-apoc robot future game as well. But that's in the early stages. But yeah, the Midderlands is fantastic, and my heart's in it. But it'd be nice to do something slightly different as well for a project, and then come back to the Midlands, with renewed vigour. So, I mean, I'm saying that now, kind of in the thick of one. So, once it's done and it's out the door, that may well change, and I'll think, it's time for another Midlands. So, yeah, who knows? I try not to plan it too much because I like to just go where the wind takes me.
No, I got you. I'd find it interesting to see a post-apoc setting in the Midlands, but 400 years, 1,000 years in the future. So it's a setting that it's familiar, yet totally not familiar.
Maybe less green.
Yeah, less green.
Orange.
I guess more orange. That horrible fake gold color.
Orangey red like fire. I think that could be a good post-apoc robot world.
Very cool.
What am I going to call it? I don't know. I'll have a think.
I'm sad. I'm disappointed that we had a little technical difficulties today. And I joked with you prior that sometimes I have a problem getting the bot to leave. Well, apparently I didn't have a problem getting
not
it
today.
to shut down. Yeah. It's like, hey, you've been quiet for 5 minutes. No, we haven't.
Yeah.
What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, it's my effect on technical devices. I used to do it at work. Somebody would, yeah. So, the IT never used to like
my
me.
sister. I'm like her IT support. That's why I just moved her to my old Mac. I was like, listen, you got to get off Windows. I don't know it well enough to be your effective support, and Mac has, so let's just use. But no, dude, this was good, man. We got to do this again.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, I shall when the City of Great London gets to a workable document. It's not a million miles away now, but something to look at that's going to be representative of the final product. I shall send you a sneak peek. See what you think.
Ooh. Well, that sounds awesome. I never turn down sneak peeks, man, because I find that the sneak peeks are such an insight into the process. Dirk Stanley gave me a sneak peek of the faraway land that he's converting to OSR.
Oh, right, cool.
Using Swords and Wizardry as his base system, pretty much. And when I got this sneak peek, I was just like, oh my god, if this is where it's at now, I could only imagine what it's going to be when the final is ready.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love the artwork for that. It's got really great cartoon.
It's like it was Adventure Time. Yeah, it feels like a little bit like Adventure Time, but even the original system, it has such an old school feel to it. Even though it's a simple basic D6 system, you can see the influence that D&D had on it. I think is awesome.
It's begging for the people that make Family Guy, Seth, somebody or other.
Yes, that's something.
And The Simpsons to turn it into some kind of animated series.
Oh God,
it's begging for that.
Yeah, it can go straight to Netflix.
Yeah.
I'm already a Netflix subscriber anyway. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I was on Netflix for a little while over here in the UK, but it's Now TV now because I can get Game of Thrones on Now TV,
nice.
but through Sky Atlantic. So, but you get it before we do. It's on the Sunday night, I think, for you guys, and then we get it on the Monday night. So I have to stay off social media
for a
all
whole
of that
day.
Monday. Yeah. So I don't get any.
Yeah, I think we're like a week and a half out. It's been. It feels like the whole time of my retirement I haven't been watching it, so it's a strange
Mm.
feeling.
Yeah, it's about a year and a half or something, isn't it?
I think it's two years almost.
Mm.
I don't think they. I don't think it's aired 17, and it's only going to be, I don't know, 6, 8 episodes, something like that.
Yeah, but
I
real long episodes.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be on the edge of my seat. It's gonna be a lot of beer and popcorn. I'm sure I'll just be like, shove more popcorn in my mouth, shove more beer, wash it down.
Yeah, me and my
Edge of the
girlfriend are
seat
really
stuff.
into it, so we're totally psyched for that. So and the Kickstarter ends on the Sunday, so hopefully we'll be like, yeah, woo, and then Game of Thrones on the Monday. So
Yeah, when Game of
results.
Thrones first came out, I possibly didn't actually have HBO, so it might have been that I was watching on my computer, and it not a lot of space in front of my desk, but we would fit 2 seats in front of it, and me and my wife would watch it, and we did that for about half the season before my wife was like, you know what, we just need to get cable. I had cable for the internet, but I didn't have it for the TV. She's like, we just need cable. I was like, you know what, that's a son.
Yeah,
And it's funny because HBO was like, yeah, we know there's a large part of our audience doesn't subscribe. We're okay with that because we know we are converting future subscribers.
yeah.
And they did. Honest to God, they did. So I haven't turned on HBO, I think, in the last like 6 months. So I subscribe for
Mm.
one show. You know?
Well, yeah, I'm on Now TV for just one show. But my partner used to watch Walking Dead, but there's only so many zombies you can see stabbed in the head before you kind of switch off.
Yeah, I kind of gave up on The Walking Dead after God, 4.5 seasons, 5 seasons. I forget where it became the whole. It's like, wow, it's totally different, but totally the same every episode.
Yeah.
You know, there wasn't enough to keep it going for me. So.
Yeah, I think we got to the same point and just thought, it's just watching. It's like watching the same episodes over and over.
Yeah.
But, so can I do a plug for my Kickstarter just to tell people where to find it?
Of course you can, and I will include links in the show notes to
Awesome.
Kickstarter, your webpage, your RPG Now page, all of it.
Oh, excellent. If you go to Kickstarter, you can just go straight in the search bar and type London, but it's not spelt as you would expect because this is the Midlands. So it's Lunden. If you hit that search, and it should pop up probably right at the top, the City of Great London. It's currently, it was funding goal was 12,000. It's at 12,413. And then there's stretch goals every extra £500. So all the way up to 15,000. So there's 7 days to go. So we're in the last week, and I'm optimistic that most, if not all, of those stretch goals might fall if we have the same kind of ramp up that we see from the previous 2 campaigns. So it's really exciting.
At the end, Kickstarter usually has that big ramp up in the last 2.5, 3 days. It ramps up in the beginning, and then it has this low trough, and then it ramps up again at the end. I think a lot of people, they follow the Kickstarter and they go, I really like that. Let me see if I'm still interested near the end. And some people might forget, but other people go, oh my God, I almost forgot to support this, and they start hitting it.
Yeah, and the Kickstarter campaign page or the dashboard gives you some interesting information. So you can see how many the quantity of people following the campaign,
right?
And you can also see how many people that were following it have then pledged. So you get a conversion rate.
Oh, nice.
And I think my previous 2 campaigns were about 30% conversion, which is I believe that's pretty good. And currently we're on about 14% at the moment with the City of Great London. So if that goes up to the average that the other 2 have gone up to, that's probably another 65 backers or so, which would push it up to the past the stretch goals. But I never like to kind of predict these things, but
No,
it looks like it's going to fund, and it should fund strongly, I think, into the stretch goals. So I'm really excited to kind of get it laid out, and get the guys that are going to be writing their adventures done, and it's exciting.
Good times, man. Good times. Well, thank you for spending the time in your afternoon.
No, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
No, dude, it's all me, man. I'm the one that's really thankful because I don't have a large number of like gaming heroes. I don't fawn over like Frank Metzner, Tim Kask. Well, I did have the Jeff Grubb moment of stumbling over my tongue when he told me he read my blog.
You're Eric Tenkar.
Oh, you're Eric Tenkar. I read your blog almost daily. And then the elevator did. That was, but no, you're one of the people in our community that I really respect, and
thanks, Eric. Well, I really appreciate that.
All right. Well, on that note, folks, we survived our technical difficulties. Thank you all for listening. Again, as I said, I'm going to have links to Glynn's stuff in the show notes. Please give him a click, give him a look. It's well worth your time. And again, much thanks to Glynn for taking time out to yap with me. I felt like I'm already at my pub. I had it was one of those nice, relaxing conversations. So,
we'll have to do another one at some point where you get some beer and I'll buy some beer, and we'll do kind of like virtual dating, but not dating.
No, it's like like the man bro hugs, But, yeah.
Well, one day I shall come over to these conventions that all you guys spend your time at, and hopefully meet you and a lot of the other people like Jeff Talanian and all the guys in person. Shake everybody's hand.
I'm gonna, I love all three of the main OSR cons, Gamehole, GaryCon, and North Texas. But North Texas, if they're all 10s, North Texas, it's just it keeps the size to under 500, but with the same number of special guests as the other cons. So you do stumble into people, and you can talk to pretty much anybody you want to. Whereas, at GaryCon, there's almost like an entourage after like Ernie, when Ernie Gygax comes through. It's like, wow, there's no way you're even going to get to make eye contact with the gentleman, let alone say a few words. North Texas, you'll get a chance to talk to people like Ernie. But, I'd love to see you come over, man. I really would.
Yeah, one day. I've just got to sell some more books.
Right, folks. They heard it. Buy more of Glynn's stuff, and let's get him over to the other side of the pond. All right?
Excellent.
All right, folks. As always, stay healthy. God bless. Roll your dice well. And I will talk with you all tomorrow. Later, folks. There you go.